The deep space around the Kepler 442 system was quiet and cold. Stars dotted the black void like tiny diamonds scattered across dark fabric. The only sound that could be heard was the soft hum of engines from the human exploration ship UNS Horizon, as it moved through the endless space between worlds. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair on the bridge, looking out at the stars through the main window. His coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but he did not mind. He had been a ship captain for 12 years, and the sight of deep space still made him feel peaceful. The Horizon was on a routine mission to map new star systems and look for planets that humans might be able to live on someday. The bridge was busy but quiet. Officers worked at their stations, checking systems and watching for anything unusual. The soft blue glow from the computer screens lit their faces as they did their jobs. Everything seemed normal for another day in deep space. Lisa Grant sat at the communications station, her headphones covering her ears as she listened to the usual space chatter. Radio signals from distant human colonies, automated messages from space stations, and the occasional transmission from alien ships that passed through nearby systems. She had been doing this job for 8 years and could tell the difference between important messages and background noise without even thinking about it. That was why she noticed something different right away. "Captain," Lisa said, turning in her chair to face Jake. "I'm picking up something strange on the emergency frequency." Jake set down his cold coffee and walked over to her station. "What kind of strange?" Lisa adjusted her headphones and turned up the volume on her speakers so Jake could hear. Through the static and interference came a weak, broken voice speaking in what sounded like Galactic Standard, the common language used by most alien species for trade and communication. "Help. Please help. Anyone who can hear this, our systems are failing and we need immediate assistance." The message was hard to understand. The signal was very weak, and whoever was speaking seemed to be having trouble with the language. But the fear in the voice was clear, even through the static. "How far away is that signal coming from?" Jake asked. Lisa worked on her computer, trying to track the source. "It's coming from inside this system, sir. Looks like it's from Kepler 442b. Jake frowned. He knew about that planet from the star charts. Kepler 442b was listed as barely suitable for life, with extreme weather, dangerous animals, and air that was poisonous to most alien species. The Galactic Council had marked it as too dangerous for colonization by any known alien race. "Are you sure that's where it's coming from?" Jake asked. "Yes, sir. The signal is definitely coming from orbit around Kepler 442b. Lisa continued working on her equipment. "I can clean up the signal a bit. Let me try to get a better copy of the message." She worked for several minutes, adjusting frequencies and filtering out static. Finally, she played the message again, and this time it was much clearer. "This is First Harvester Clicks of mining platform Karen 7. We are in desperate need of assistance. Our main engines have failed, and life support systems are damaged. We have 847 crew members aboard, and our platform is being pulled into the planet's atmosphere. We have less than 20 standard hours before we crash. Please, if anyone can hear this message, we need help immediately. We will share our location coordinates with any ship that responds." The bridge went quiet as everyone listened to the message. Jake could hear the desperation in the alien's voice, even though the words were spoken in the formal style that most aliens used when speaking Galactic Standard. "Sir," said Ryan Clark, the ship's chief science officer, from his station across the bridge. "I've never heard of the species that sent this message, but I can tell you about that planet they're orbiting." Jake nodded. "Tell me what you know, Ryan." Ryan pulled up information on his computer screen. "Kepler 442b is what we call a hostile world. The gravity is about 1.5 times what we're used to on Earth. The atmosphere has high levels of toxic gases that would kill most alien species in minutes. The weather includes severe storms with winds over 200 miles per hour. The surface temperature changes by more than 100 degrees between day and night." "Sounds like a vacation spot," Jake said with dark humor. "What about the life forms?" "The planet has very aggressive animal life. Most creatures there are built to survive in those harsh conditions, which makes them extremely dangerous to visitors. The Galactic Council rated it as a Class 12 hostile environment. Most alien species won't even send robotic probes there. Jake thought about this information. A Class 12 hostile environment was serious business. Most alien species came from worlds that were much more gentle than Earth. They lived on planets with light gravity, mild weather, and peaceful animals. A world like Kepler 442b would be a death trap for them. But humans were different. Earth was also rated as a Class 12 hostile environment by the Galactic Council. Humans had evolved on a world with dangerous weather, aggressive animals, and an atmosphere that was poisonous to many alien species. What seemed impossible to most aliens might be just another day at work for humans. "Lisa, can you respond to their message?" Jake asked. "Yes, sir. I can send a reply on the same frequency." Jake made his decision. "Send this message. Mining platform Karen 7. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel UNS Horizon. We have received your distress call and are changing course to assist you. We will arrive in your system within 6 hours. Please continue transmitting your location and status. Help is on the way." Lisa typed the message and sent it out into space. Within a few minutes, a reply came back. The alien voice sounded surprised and grateful. "UNS Horizon, this is First Harvester Clicks. Thank you for responding to our call. We are transmitting our exact coordinates now. But I must warn you, our platform is in orbit around a very dangerous world. The conditions here are lethal to most species. Are you certain your ship can operate safely in this environment?" Jake took the microphone from Lisa. "First Harvester Clicks, this is Captain Morrison. We understand the dangers of your location. Humans come from a world very similar to the one you're orbiting. We are equipped and trained to operate in hostile environments. We will reach you in 6 hours. Morrison out." Jake handed the microphone back to Lisa and walked to the center of the bridge. "All stations, listen up. We're changing course to respond to a distress call. Chief Clark, I want a full analysis of the Kepler 442 system before we arrive. Lisa, keep monitoring their transmissions and let me know if their situation gets worse. Navigation, plot a course for Kepler 442b at maximum speed." "Aye, sir," came the replies from around the bridge. Jake pressed a button on his chair that opened communication with the entire ship. "All crew, this is the captain. We have received a distress call from an alien mining platform in the Kepler 442 system. We are changing course to assist with a rescue operation. The location is extremely hostile, but that's exactly why we're the right ship for this job. All departments should prepare for emergency rescue operations in a dangerous environment. Department heads report to the briefing room in 1 hour. Morrison out." As the ship turned toward the Kepler 442 system and increased speed, Jake felt the familiar mix of concern and determination that came with rescue missions. He had been on many such operations during his career, but this would be the first time he and his crew would be helping aliens from another species. Dr. Kevin Hayes, the ship's chief medical officer, came onto the bridge. "Captain, I heard your announcement. What can you tell me about the aliens we're going to help?" "Not much yet," Jake admitted. "They call themselves Zephyrians, and they're miners. Their platform is falling into the atmosphere of a hostile planet. Beyond that, we'll have to learn as we go." "How many injured should I prepare for?" "They said 847 crew members total. We don't know how many are hurt, but you should prepare for the worst." Dr. Hayes nodded. "I'll get the medical bay ready for alien patients. This should be interesting." As the doctor left the bridge, Jake looked out at the stars again. In 6 hours, he and his crew would be dealing with their first major alien rescue operation. The Zephyrians were counting on them, and Jake was determined not to let them down, but he had no idea that their actions were about to change how the entire galaxy saw humanity. Hidden monitoring stations belonging to the Galactic Council were already tracking the UNS Horizon as it raced toward Kepler 442b. What happened in the next day would be recorded and studied by alien civilizations across the galaxy. The Horizon continued through space, carrying 43 human crew members toward a meeting that would change everything. Behind them, the cold stars watched silently as humanity prepared to show the galaxy what Deathworlders could do. The UNS Horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kepler 442 system with a flash of blue light. Captain Jake Morrison felt the familiar vibration through the ship's hull, as the engine switched from jump drive to normal space propulsion. Through the main window, he could see the orange glow of Kepler 442, the system's star, in the distance. "Jump. Complete, sir," reported Lieutenant Bobby Chen from the navigation station. "We're at the outer edge of the system. All systems are normal." Jake nodded and turned to his science officer. "Ryan, what are the sensors picking up?" Ryan Clark worked at his station, studying the readings that appeared on his screen. "I'm detecting the mining platform, sir. It's in a decaying orbit around the fourth planet. The platform is huge, much larger than I expected." "How huge?" Jake asked. "It's about 3 miles long and 1 mile wide. Mass readings suggest it weighs over 2 million tons. That's bigger than some space stations." Lisa Grant looked up from her communication station. "Sir, I'm receiving another transmission from the aliens." "Put it on speakers," Jake ordered. Thou, bridge filled with the voice of First Harvester Clicks, the alien who had sent the original distress call. His voice sounded more desperate than before, and Jake could hear other voices and sounds in the background. "UNS Horizon, this is First Harvester Clicks. We are grateful that you have arrived, but our situation has become worse. The solar flare that damaged our engines also affected our life support systems. We are losing atmosphere pressure in several sections of the platform. Many of our crew are trapped in areas that are filling with toxic gases from our damaged systems." Jake picked up the microphone. "First Harvester Clicks, this is Captain Morrison. We're moving toward your position now. Can you give us more details about the damage to your platform?" "Captain Morrison, the main engine control room was destroyed by electrical fires caused by the solar flare. Our backup engines are working, but they only provide 30% of normal power. The platform's orbit is decaying, and we calculate that we have 16 hours and 27 minutes before we enter the planet's atmosphere." Ryan looked up from his science station. "Sir, I'm confirming their calculations. At their current rate of orbital decay, they'll hit the atmosphere in just over 16 hours. Jake thought quickly. "First Harvester Clicks, we're going to dock with your platform and assess the situation. Can you prepare a docking port for us?" There was a pause before the alien replied. "Captain Morrison, I must warn you again about the dangers. The damaged sections of our platform are filled with gases that are deadly to most oxygen-breathing species. The temperature in those areas is over 150 degrees of your Fahrenheit scale. The radiation levels from our damaged reactor are also very high." Jake almost smiled at the warning. To most alien species, those conditions would be instantly fatal. But humans had worked in similar conditions on Earth for centuries. "First Harvester Clicks, we appreciate the warning, but my crew is trained and equipped for exactly these kinds of conditions. We'll be docking in 30 minutes. As the horizon moved closer to the mining platform, the crew got their first good look at the massive alien structure. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. The platform looked like a giant metal city floating in space with towers, domes, and connecting bridges spread across its surface. But now Jake could see the damage from the solar flare. Several sections were dark, with twisted metal and holes where explosions had torn through the hull. "My God," whispered Dr. Hayes, who had come to the bridge to see the alien platform. "How many people did you say were on that thing?" 847, Jake replied. "And we're going to get them all off safely." The docking procedure took 20 minutes. The alien platform used a different docking system than human ships, but Lieutenant Chen was able to adapt their equipment to make a secure connection. Soon as the docking was complete, Jake could hear strange sounds coming through the hull of his ship. The alien platform was making groaning and creaking noises that suggested serious structural damage. "Sir," said Sergeant Amy Rodriguez, who commanded the ship's marine detachment, "my team is ready to go aboard the alien platform. We've checked all our equipment and we're prepared for hostile conditions." Jake nodded. "Good. But remember, we're dealing with a species we've never met before. Be respectful and follow their lead until we understand their situation better." The airlock connecting the two ships opened with a hiss of equalizing pressure. Jake stepped through first, followed by Dr. Hayes, Sergeant Rodriguez, and 6 Marines. The air on the alien platform felt warm and humid, with a strange smell that reminded Jake of burning metal and ozone. The first thing Jake noticed was how tall the corridors were. The ceilings were at least 12 feet high, much taller than human ships needed. The second thing he noticed was the alien waiting to greet them. First Harvester Klix was unlike any creature Jake had ever seen. The alien stood nearly 8 feet tall but looked very thin and delicate. He had 4 arms, each ending in hands with long, thin fingers. His skin was a pale blue color, with darker blue patterns across his face and arms. His eyes were large and compound like an insect's eyes, but they showed intelligence and emotion that Jake could recognize even across species lines. "Captain Morrison," Klix said in careful galactic standard, "I am honored to meet you and your crew. Thank you for coming to help us." Jake stepped forward and extended his hand in the human greeting gesture. Klix looked confused for a moment, then carefully reached out with one of his 4 hands to shake Jake's hand. The alien's grip was very light and gentle. "First Harvester Klix, I'm honored to meet you as well. This is Dr. Hayes, our Chief Medical Officer, and Sergeant Rodriguez, who leads our emergency response team. We're here to help you and your people." Klix led them through the corridors of the mining platform. As they walked, Jake noticed that other aliens they passed moved very slowly and carefully. They seemed to be having trouble with the artificial gravity on their own platform. "First Harvester," Jake said, "can you tell me more about your people? We want to help, but we need to understand your needs and limitations." Klix stopped walking and turned to face the humans. "My people, the Zephyrians, evolved on a world with very light gravity and a thin atmosphere. We are not strong by the standards of most species, and we cannot survive in harsh conditions. Our mining platforms are designed to protect us from dangerous environments while we extract valuable minerals from hostile worlds." Dr. Hayes stepped forward. "Are any of your people injured? I'm a doctor, and I'd like to help if I can." "Many of our crew are hurt, Dr. Hayes. The explosions from the solar flare caused fires and structural collapses in several sections. But I am afraid the areas where our injured are trapped are too dangerous for most beings. The air is full of toxic gases, and the heat would kill most species in minutes." Sergeant Rodriguez spoke up. "Sir, that's exactly the kind of environment my Marines are trained for. With our environmental suits, we can work in those conditions for hours." Klix looked at the human Marines with what seemed like disbelief. "You would enter areas that are filled with poisonous gases and extreme heat?" "Ma'am," said Corporal Danny Wright, one of Rodriguez's Marines. "Back on Earth, I used to work in steel mills before I joined the military. This sounds like a typical Tuesday." Jake could see that Klix didn't understand the human's casual attitude toward danger. "First Harvester, humans evolved on a world that has many dangerous environments. What seems deadly to your people might be normal working conditions for us." Klix led them to a large window that looked out toward the planet below. Kepler 442b filled half the view, a brown and gray world covered with massive storm systems. Lightning flickered constantly through the thick clouds, and Jake could see the occasional glow of volcanic activity on the night side of the planet. "That world down there is why we came to this system," Klix explained. "It contains rare minerals that are very valuable to galactic civilization. But as you can see, it is far too dangerous for most species to approach. We built this mining platform to extract the minerals from orbit, using automated systems to work on the planet's surface." Ryan Clark, who had joined them from the horizon, studied the planet through the window. "I can see why most species would avoid that place. The storm systems alone would destroy most spacecraft." "Indeed," Klix agreed. "When the Galactic Council first surveyed this world, they classified it as completely unsuitable for any form of life or industrial activity. They said only a species that evolved on a death world could possibly survive there." Jake and his crew exchanged glances. Earth was classified by the Galactic Council as a death world, one of the most dangerous planets known to galactic civilization. Most aliens could not believe that any intelligent species could evolve on such a hostile planet. "First Harvester," Jake said, "we need to see the damaged areas of your platform so we can plan our rescue operations. Can you show us where your people are trapped?" Klix led them through more corridors to a sealed blast door marked with alien warning symbols. Through a thick window in the door, Jake could see a section of the platform that was filled with orange and yellow smoke. Emergency lights flashed through the toxic fog, and Jake could hear the sound of metal grinding against metal. Beyond this, door is our main engine control room, Clicks explained. 23 of our engineers are trapped in there. The room is filled with gases from our damaged systems, and the temperature is over 160 degrees Fahrenheit. We cannot reach them with our equipment. Sergeant Rodriguez looked through the window and nodded to her Marines. That's not too bad. We've trained in worse conditions than that. Clicks stared at the human sergeant. You consider those conditions not too bad? Ma'am, I've done training exercises in the Sahara Desert where the air temperature was 130 degrees, and we were wearing full combat gear. This looks manageable. Dr. Hayes was examining readings on a device he had brought from the horizon. The gas mixture in there would be deadly to humans without breathing equipment, but our environmental suits can handle it easily. The temperature is well within our tolerance range. Jake made his decision. First Harvester, we're going to go in there and get your people out. How long do we have before the structural damage gets worse? Clicks consulted a device that he wore on one of his wrists. The support beams in that section are failing. We estimate that the entire area will collapse within 4 hours. That gives us plenty of time, Jake said. Sergeant Rodriguez, get your team suited up. Dr. Hayes, prepare to treat alien patients with unknown physiology. Ryan, I want you to analyze the platform's structure and find ways to stabilize it. As the humans began preparing for the rescue operation, Clicks watched them with growing amazement. These beings from the death world called Earth were preparing to enter conditions that would kill most galactic species, and they were discussing it as if it were routine work. What Clicks did not know was that hidden sensors throughout the Kepler 442 system were recording everything. The Galactic Council's automated monitoring stations were sending detailed reports about the human rescue operation to Council headquarters on Nexus Prime. For the first time, galactic civilization was about to witness humans in action on a large scale. The rescue of mining platform Karen 7 was about to begin. Sergeant Amy Rodriguez sealed her helmet and checked the readings on her environmental suit one last time. The suit's systems showed green lights across the board, oxygen supply was full, temperature regulation was working perfectly, and the air filters were ready to handle the toxic gases that filled the damaged section of the alien mining platform. All right, Marines, she said over the radio to her team. Standard rescue protocol. We go in fast, find the survivors, and get them out safely. Remember, these aliens are much more fragile than humans, so handle them carefully. Corporal Danny, Wright adjusted his equipment belt and grinned behind his helmet visor. Sarge, this is going to be easier than that training exercise we did in Death Valley last year. Stay focused, Wright, Rodriguez replied, but she agreed with him. The conditions beyond the blast door looked dangerous to the aliens, but they were well within human tolerance levels. First Harvester Clicks watched the human Marines prepare for their rescue mission with growing disbelief. These beings were about to enter an area that would kill any Zephyrian in seconds, and they were joking about it. He had heard rumors about the species from the death world called Earth, but seeing them in person was completely different from the stories. Captain Jake Morrison stood beside Clicks as they watched the Marines through the blast door window. First, Harvester, can you communicate with your people who are trapped in there? Clicks activated a communication device on his wrist. I can try, but the interference from the damaged systems makes it difficult. He spoke in his own language, a series of clicking and buzzing sounds that the human translation devices could not handle. After a few moments, a weak reply came through the static. Clicks's compound eyes showed relief. They are still alive, Captain. Morrison. 23 engineers are trapped in the main control room. Several are injured, but none are in immediate danger of death. Good, Jake said. Rodriguez, you heard that. 23 survivors, some injured. Get them out of there. Yes, sir, Rodriguez replied. She turned to the blast door controls. Right, Johnson, you're with me for the initial entry. Stevens and Parker, you stay here and be ready to help with wounded when we bring them out. The blast door opened with a loud hiss of escaping gases. Immediately, the corridor filled with orange and yellow smoke that glowed in the emergency lighting. The temperature readings on the human suits jumped from 72 degrees to 164 degrees Fahrenheit in seconds. Rodriguez stepped through the doorway first, followed by Wright and Marine Johnson. The toxic smoke swirled around them, but their environmental suits kept them completely safe. Rodriguez checked her readings and spoke into her radio. Air composition is mostly nitrogen and oxygen with high concentrations of sulfur compounds and trace metals. Nothing our filters can't handle. Temperature is steady at 164 degrees. Visibility is about 10 feet through the smoke. Dr. Kevin Hayes watched the Marines disappear into the toxic fog from his position at the medical station they had set up in the corridor. He had prepared treatment areas for alien patients, though he had no idea what Zephyrian physiology was. Like, Rodriguez, when you find the injured, try to assess their condition before you move them. I don't know how their bodies work. Copy that, Doc, Rodriguez replied. Inside the damaged section, the 3 Marines moved carefully through corridors filled with debris and twisted metal. The floors were covered with a thin layer of metallic dust that had settled from the damaged systems. Emergency lights flashed red and orange through the toxic fog, creating an eerie atmosphere. This reminds me of that refinery fire I helped fight in Texas, Wright said over the radio. Except the air smells worse here. Stay focused, Rodriguez ordered, but she understood what Wright meant. The conditions were unpleasant but not particularly dangerous for humans with proper equipment. They found the first group of trapped Zephyrians in what appeared to be a maintenance area. 5 aliens were huddled together near a wall, trying to stay as far away from the toxic gases as possible. When they saw the humans approaching through the smoke, they seemed amazed that anyone could survive in those conditions. Rodriguez knelt down beside the aliens and spoke slowly in Galactic Standard. We are here to help you. Are any of you injured? One of the Zephyrians, wearing what looked like an engineer's worksuit, managed to reply in broken Galactic Standard. 2 of our group are hurt. They breathed the toxic air before we could seal this area. Rodriguez looked at the 2 injured aliens. They were conscious but breathing with difficulty. Their pale blue skin had turned darker in some areas, which she assumed was not normal. Wright, Johnson, help me get these 5 to the medical area. Move them gently. The Marines carefully lifted the injured Zephyrians and began carrying them toward the exit. Rodriguez was surprised by how light the aliens were. Even the largest Zephyrian weighed less than 120 pounds, despite being nearly 8 feet tall. As they moved through the toxic fog, Wright made conversation with one of the uninjured aliens he was carrying. So, what kind of work do you do on this platform? The alien seemed shocked that the human was making casual conversation while walking through deadly conditions. I am a mineral processing engineer. We extract rare metals from the planet below. That sounds like interesting work, Wright replied. I used to work in a copper mine back on Earth before I joined the Marines. Mining is tough work no matter what planet you're on. The alien stared at Wright through his helmet visor. You worked in a mine? On your death world? Sure did. Spent 2 years working underground in Arizona. Hot, dusty, dangerous work, but the pay was good. When they reached the medical area, Dr. Hayes immediately began examining the injured Zephyrians. He had brought medical scanning equipment from the horizon, and he used it to try to understand alien physiology. What he found surprised him. These beings are incredibly delicate, he told Captain Morrison. Their bones are hollow like bird bones, but much thinner. Their muscle mass is about 1/4 what a human would have. And their respiratory system is very efficient, but also very sensitive to toxins. Jake watched as the doctor worked on the alien patients. Can you help them? I think so. The breathing problems are similar to chemical poisoning in humans. I can adapt our treatments for their physiology. Dr. Hayes looked up from his work. Captain, these aliens are built for very gentle environments. What we consider normal physical stress would be seriously dangerous to them. Meanwhile, Rodriguez and her team went back into the damaged section to find the remaining 18 trapped Zephyrians. They found them in the main control room, a large chamber filled with complex alien machinery. Most of the equipment was damaged or destroyed, and the air was even more toxic than in the corridors. The trapped engineers had managed to create a small safe area using emergency air supplies, but Rodriguez could see that their equipment was failing. Without human help, they would not have survived much longer. All right, people, Rodriguez said to her team. We need to get 18 aliens out of here quickly. Their life support is almost gone. The rescue took 2 hours of careful work. The Marines had to clear debris from blocked passages and find safe routes through the damaged areas. Several of the Zephyrians were injured and all of them were weak from breathing the toxic air. What impressed Rodriguez most was how grateful the aliens were. Every Zephyrian they rescued seemed amazed that the humans could work so easily in conditions that were deadly to their species. They kept thanking the Marines and asking how they could survive in such a hostile environment. "It's just part of the job," Wright told one of the alien engineers as he carried him to safety. "Back on Earth, we have firefighters who work in conditions like this every day. My brother is a firefighter in California, and he deals with toxic smoke and extreme heat all the time." "Your species does this regularly?" the alien asked in disbelief. "Sure. Humans work in all kinds of dangerous places. Mines, oil rigs, chemical plants, deep ocean, even space. We're pretty good at surviving in places that would kill most other species." By the time all 23 Zephyrians had been rescued from the damaged section, word of the human rescue operation had spread throughout the mining platform. Aliens from other parts of the station came to watch as the Marines brought out the last of the survivors. Clix stood with Captain Morrison, watching his people being treated by Dr. Hayes. "Captain, I must tell you something that you may not understand. What your people just did is considered impossible by every species in the Galactic Council." Jake looked at the alien leader with confusion. "Impossible? We just went into a damaged area and rescued your people. It's standard emergency procedure. Captain Morrison, the conditions in that section would kill any member of the Council species within minutes. The toxic gases, the extreme heat, the structural instability, all of it together creates an environment that no known species can survive. Yet your people worked in there for hours, as if it were normal." Dr. Hayes looked up from treating an injured Zephyrian. "Captain, I'm starting to understand what he means. These aliens are built for very mild conditions. What we consider a normal working environment would be lethal to them." Ryan Clark came over from where he had been studying the platform's damaged systems. "Sir, I've been analyzing their technology. It's very advanced in some ways, but it's all designed for species that can't handle physical stress. Their equipment breaks down under conditions that human equipment would handle easily." Jake began to understand what the aliens were telling him. Humans had evolved on a world that was so dangerous that most alien species could not even visit it safely. What seemed like normal conditions to humans were death traps to most other species in the galaxy. "First Harvester," Jake said, "are you telling me that most alien species could not have rescued your people?" Clix's compound eyes focused on the human captain. "Captain Morrison, if any other species in the galaxy had received our distress call, they would have been unable to help us. The conditions on this platform, even before the accident, are too harsh for most Council species. Only a species that evolved on a death world could operate here." Sergeant Rodriguez came over to join the conversation. Her environmental suit was covered with metallic dust and chemical residue from the rescue operation, but she looked perfectly fine. "Sir, the alien engineers are asking me how humans can work in extreme conditions. I told them it's just normal for us, but they don't seem to believe me." Jake looked around at his crew. They had just completed a rescue operation that was apparently impossible for most species in the galaxy, and they were treating it like routine work. His Marines were joking about the conditions they had worked in. His doctor was calmly treating alien patients with unfamiliar physiology. His science officer was studying alien technology as if it were a normal day at the office. What Jake did not know was that every moment of the rescue operation had been recorded by hidden sensors throughout the mining platform. The Galactic Council's monitoring stations were sending detailed reports to Council headquarters, and alien civilizations across the galaxy were about to learn what humans could do. The rescue of the trapped Zephyrians was complete, but the mining platform was still falling toward the dangerous planet below. The real test of human capabilities was just beginning. Captain Jake Morrison stood in the main control center of the alien mining platform, watching the numbers on the Zephyrian displays change every few seconds. He could not read the alien writing, but he understood what the red symbols meant. The platform was still falling toward the dangerous planet below, and time was running out. First Harvester Clicks worked at one of the control stations, his 4 hands moving quickly over the alien. Controls. His compound eyes showed worry as he studied the readings. Captain Morrison, we have repaired the damaged sections and rescued all the trapped crew members, but we still have a serious problem. Jake walked over to stand beside the alien leader. What's the situation? The solar flare damaged our main power core more severely than we first thought, Clicks explained. Our engines are working again, but they can only produce 60% of normal power. According to our calculations, we need full power to escape from the planet's gravity and reach safe orbit. Ryan Clark looked up from the alien computer terminal he had been studying. Sir, I've been running the numbers through our own computers. The Zephyrians are correct. With only 60% engine power, they can't generate enough thrust to break free from the planet's gravitational pull. Jake felt a cold worry in his stomach. They had rescued the trapped aliens and repaired the immediate damage, but if they could not get the mining platform away from the planet, all 847 Zephyrians would still die when the platform crashed into the atmosphere. How long do we have? Jake asked. Clicks checked his instruments. 11 hours and 43 minutes until we enter the atmosphere. After that, the platform will break apart from the heat and pressure. Dr. Kevin Hayes joined them in the control center. He had finished treating all the injured Zephyrians and had been studying alien medical equipment. Captain, I've learned something interesting about these aliens. They're not just physically fragile compared to humans. Their entire technology is designed for low-stress environments. Their equipment can't handle the kind of extreme conditions that human technology deals with regularly. Jake thought about this information. Are you saying their engines aren't powerful enough because they're not built to handle high-stress operations? Exactly, Dr. Hayes replied. Their power systems are very efficient for normal operations, but they don't have the robust design that human engines have. When something goes wrong, they can't push their systems beyond normal limits the way we can. Lieutenant Sophie Turner, the Horizon's chief engineer, came into the control center. She had been working with the Zephyrian technical staff to understand their engine systems. Captain, I've got some ideas about our situation. Let's hear them, Jake said. Sophie pulled out a portable computer and showed Jake a diagram of both, the mining platform and the UNS Horizon. Sir, the Zephyrian platform is huge, but most of its mass is in the mining equipment and storage areas. The actual structure is much lighter than a human station of the same size. What are you thinking? Jake asked. I'm thinking we could dock the Horizon directly to the mining platform and use our engines to help push them out of orbit. Our ship is much smaller, but our engines are designed for high-stress operations. Combined with their repaired engines, we might have enough total thrust to escape the gravity well. Clicks listened to the human engineer's proposal with growing amazement. Engineer Turner, are you suggesting that your ship would risk destruction to help us? If the maneuver fails, both vessels would be lost. Sophie looked at the alien with confusion. Sir, this is a standard emergency procedure for human rescue operations. We've done similar maneuvers dozens of times during training exercises. Jake studied the diagram on Sophie's computer. The plan was risky, but it was exactly the kind of operation that human crews trained for regularly. Sophie, what are the chances of success? With Lieutenant Chen handling the navigation and Major Garcia on the pilot controls, I'd say we have about an 85% chance of success. The main risk is that the docking connection between our ship and the platform might not hold. Under the stress, Ryan Clark looked at the numbers on his own computer. Sir, the Zephyrians are right to be worried. If this maneuver fails, the combined mass of both vessels will actually make the orbital decay happen faster. We'd have less time to try another solution. Jake made his decision quickly. He had been a ship captain for 12 years, and he knew that sometimes you had to take calculated risks to save lives. Sophie, how long do you need to prepare for the maneuver? 2 hours to modify our docking systems and synchronize our engines with theirs. Another hour to calculate the exact thrust, vectors, and timing. Do it, Jake ordered. Ryan, I want you to double-check all the calculations. Dr. Hayes, make sure all the injured Zephyrians are secured for high-acceleration maneuvers. We're going to get these people out of here. As the human crew began preparing for the dangerous rescue maneuver, word spread throughout the mining platform. Zephyrians gathered to watch the humans work, amazed by their confidence and efficiency under extreme pressure. First, Harvester Clicks followed Jake as he moved through the platform, checking on the preparations. "Captain Morrison, I must ask you something. Why are you risking your ship and crew to save people you have never met before?" Jake stopped walking and looked at the alien leader. "First, Harvester, what kind of question is that? You sent out a distress call and we responded. That's what civilized beings do for each other. But Captain, your people could simply evacuate our crew to your ship and leave the platform behind. You would save our lives without risking your own vessel." Jake shook his head. "Your platform represents years of work and huge amounts of resources. If we can save both your people and your platform, that's what we're going to do." Clicks's compound eyes studied the human captain. "Captain Morrison, most species in the galaxy would not take such risks for strangers. The Galactic Council teaches that self-preservation is the first law of intelligent behavior." "Maybe that works for other species," Jake replied, "but humans see things differently. We believe that sometimes you have to risk everything to do what's right." Lieutenant Bobby Chen came over to join them. He was carrying navigation equipment and looked excited about the upcoming maneuver. "Captain, I finished calculating the orbital mechanics. This is going to be one hell of a ride." "How complex is the maneuver?" Jake asked. "We'll need to dock with the platform, synchronize our engines, and then fire both sets of engines in a precise sequence while maintaining exact heading and attitude control. The timing has to be perfect, or the stress will tear both vessels apart." Clicks listened to the human navigator's explanation with growing disbelief. "Lieutenant Chen, you are describing a maneuver that would require split-second timing and perfect coordination between two different ship systems. Such precision is almost impossible to achieve." Chen grinned at the alien. "Sir, we've done harder maneuvers during training. Last year we practiced docking with a spinning asteroid while flying through a meteor shower. This is actually easier than that." Major Tony Garcia, the Horizon's pilot, joined their group. "Captain, I've been studying the platform's engine systems with Engineer Turner. Their controls are more sensitive than ours, but once we get the synchronization worked out, the actual flying should be straightforward." "Any concerns about the maneuver?" Jake asked. "Only one, sir. The aliens are worried about the stress levels their platform will experience during the escape burn. Their structure isn't designed for the kind of acceleration we'll need to break orbit." Sophie Turner came over from where she had been working on the docking modifications. "Captain, I've been talking with the Zephyrian engineers about that problem. Their platform is actually stronger than they think it is. They just never push their systems to the limits the way humans do." Jake looked around at his crew. They were preparing for a dangerous maneuver that could destroy both vessels, but they were discussing it as if it were routine work. Their confidence and professionalism impressed even him, and he had been working with them for years. "All right, people," Jake said. "We have one chance to get this right. Sophie, how are the engine modifications coming?" "Almost finished, sir. The Zephyrian power systems are actually very compatible with ours once you understand how they work. Their technology is more advanced than ours in some ways, just not as robust." Dr. Hayes came over to report on the injured aliens. "Captain, all the Zephyrian patients are stable and secured for high-acceleration maneuvers. I've also been talking with their medical staff about human physiology. They're amazed that we can survive the acceleration forces this maneuver will generate." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. "The acceleration we'll experience during the escape burn would be fatal to most Zephyrians. They can't handle more than about 2 times their normal gravity without serious injury. We'll be pulling at least 4 times Earth gravity during the maneuver." Jake realized that the human rescue operation was even more remarkable than he had thought. Not only were they attempting a maneuver that most alien species would consider impossible, but they were doing it under acceleration forces that would kill the aliens they were trying to save. Lieutenant Chen checked his chronometer. "Captain, we're ready to begin the final docking sequence. All systems are synchronized and ready." Jake activated the communication system to address both his crew and the Zephyrians throughout the platform. "All personnel, this is Captain Morrison. We are about to attempt the orbital escape maneuver. All crew should secure themselves at emergency stations. The maneuver will begin in 10 minutes. As Jake walked toward the Horizon's bridge, he passed groups of Zephyrians who had gathered to watch the humans work. The aliens seemed amazed by the confidence and efficiency the human crew showed while preparing for such a dangerous operation. What Jake did not know was that hidden sensors throughout the system were recording every moment of the rescue attempt. The Galactic Council's monitoring stations were transmitting detailed data about the human rescue operation to Council headquarters on Nexus Prime. Alien civilizations across the galaxy were about to witness something that would change their understanding of what was possible. On the bridge of the Horizon, Jake took his position in the captain's chair. Through the main window, he could see the massive alien mining platform stretching out in all directions. Below them, the dangerous planet Kepler 442b filled half the view, its storms and volcanic activity clearly visible through the thick atmosphere. "All stations report ready, sir," Chen announced. Jake took a deep breath and opened the communication channel to the mining platform. "First harvester clicks. This is Captain Morrison. We are ready to begin the escape maneuver. Are your people prepared?" "We are ready, Captain Morrison," came Clix's reply. "And Captain, on behalf of all 847 members of my crew, thank you for risking everything to save us." Jake smiled as he looked out at the stars beyond the dangerous planet. "First harvester, that's what friends do for each other. Let's get out of here." The most dangerous part of the rescue was about to begin. 3 months had passed since the Battle of New Haven, and the galaxy would never be the same again. Admiral Jake Tucker sat in his new office aboard the orbital station that humans and Zephyrians had built together above New Haven. Through the large window, he could see ships from a dozen different species docked at the station. They had all come here for one reason: to ask for help from the humans. The news of humanity's victory over the Korthak Syndicate had spread like wildfire across the galaxy. For over 300 years, the Korthak had conquered world after world, enslaving entire species without anyone being able to stop them. Now, for the first time, someone had not just fought them, but actually won. The psychological impact was enormous. Tucker's communication device buzzed. It was a message from Earth. Admiral Lisa Carter's face appeared on the screen. "Jake, we need to talk. The Galactic Council is demanding a meeting with our representatives. They want to know what humanity's intentions are now that we've proven we can fight." Tucker smiled grimly. "Let me guess, they're worried we might become the next Korthak Syndicate." "Something like that," Carter replied. "But we both know that's not who we are. The question is, how do we prove it to them?" Before Tucker could answer, his aide, Lieutenant Sam Rodriguez, entered the office. She had been promoted after her heroic actions during the battle 3 months ago. "Admiral, we have another situation. 3 more species have sent delegations asking for military assistance. The Altarian Republic is threatening to impose sanctions on any species that cooperates with us." Tucker turned back to Carter on the screen. "Looks like the galaxy is choosing sides. Some want our help, others want us to disappear." "What do you recommend?" Carter asked. "We do what we've always done," Tucker said firmly. "We help those who need it, regardless of politics." After ending the call, Tucker walked through the station's corridors. The sight that greeted him everywhere still amazed him. Human engineers worked alongside Zephyrian biotechnicians, creating technologies that neither species could have developed alone. In the medical bay, Dr. Amy Foster was training alien doctors in human emergency procedures while learning Zephyrian healing techniques. In return, the most remarkable sight was in the station's central plaza. Children from over 20 different species played together, their parents watching and talking. 3 months ago, most of these species had never met each other. Now they were becoming friends, united by their shared experience of being protected by humans. Dr. Foster approached Tucker as he watched the children play. "Admiral, I wanted to update you on our latest research. The biological compatibility between humans and 17 different species is much higher than we initially thought. We're not just talking about medical treatments, we're talking about the possibility of truly integrated colonies." That's incredible news, Amy. What does it mean practically? It means we can create worlds where multiple species live and work together as equals. No more segregated planets or species-specific territories. True integration. Tucker nodded thoughtfully. This was bigger than just military alliances. Humanity wasn't just changing how wars were fought, they were changing how civilizations could coexist. His thoughts were interrupted by an urgent message from Colonel Rick Stone, who was now running the Joint Military Academy on New Haven's surface. "Admiral, you need to see this. We have visitors." Tucker took a shuttle down to the planet's surface. The military academy that Stone had established was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of teaching conventional warfare, it focused on human concepts that other species found revolutionary: fighting for others instead of yourself, never abandoning wounded comrades, and protecting civilians even at the cost of tactical advantage. Stone met Tucker at the landing pad. "Admiral, we have a delegation from the hegemony worlds. They want to formally surrender to us." Tucker was stunned. The hegemony controlled over 50 star systems and had been neutral in galactic conflicts for centuries. "Surrender? We're not at war with them." "That's what I told them," Stone replied. "But they insist. They say they'd rather be conquered by humans than risk being attacked by the Korthak or anyone else. They've heard about how we treat our allies, and they want that protection." Tucker shook his head. "We don't conquer people, Rick. We protect them. There's a difference. Try explaining that to them. They can't understand why we'd protect someone without ruling them." This was the challenge humanity faced across the galaxy. Most species understood only two relationships: conqueror and conquered. The idea of protective alliance without dominance was foreign to them. Tucker met with the hegemony delegation in the Academy's main hall. The lead delegate, a tall, crystalline being named High Chancellor Vexitar, seemed nervous as he spoke. "Admiral Tucker, the hegemony formally requests incorporation into the human empire. We offer complete submission in exchange for protection from hostile forces." Tucker looked at the delegation calmly. "High Chancellor, I appreciate your trust in us, but you're misunderstanding our nature. We don't have an empire. We have allies. Vextars." Crystal form flickered with confusion. "But you defeated the Korthak. You have the power to rule. Why would you not take what you have earned?" "Because that's not why we fight," Tucker replied. "We fight to protect people, not to rule them. If you want our protection, you have it. But we won't govern your worlds or make your decisions for you." The delegation exchanged confused glances. This was clearly not what they had expected. Tucker continued. "If you want to be our allies, here's what we ask. Treat your people fairly, help others when you can, and stand up to bullies. That's it." After the delegation left, still looking confused, Tucker received another message. This time it was from Ambassador Helen Price, Earth's first galactic diplomat. She was at the Galactic Council chambers, hundreds of light years away. "Jake, the council meeting is tomorrow. They're bringing representatives from every major power in the galaxy. The question they want answered is simple. What do humans want?" "What do we want?" Tucker repeated. "We want people to stop hurting each other. We want children to grow up safe. We want species to work together instead of fighting." "Is that so hard to understand?" "For most of the galaxy, yes," Price replied. "They're used to thinking in terms of territory, resources, and dominance. The idea of fighting just to help others doesn't make sense to them." That evening, Tucker walked through New Haven's rebuilt city center. The Zephyrians had used their biotechnology to grow new buildings from living coral, while humans had contributed engineering techniques that made the structures incredibly strong. The result was a city unlike anything in the galaxy. Beautiful, functional, and designed for multiple species to live together comfortably. He stopped at a memorial that had been built for the humans who died defending New Haven. The names of Captain Pete Harrison and dozens of others were inscribed in both human languages and Zephyrian script. But what struck Tucker most was what the Zephyrians had written below the names. They died so that strangers might live. This is the highest honor any being can achieve. Commander Lyra Vex, the Zephyrian leader who had sent the original distress call, approached the memorial. Admiral Tucker, I wanted to thank you again for what your people did for us. You don't need to thank us, Lyra. We did what anyone should do. But that's just it, she said. We sent our distress call to hundreds of species. Only humans answered. Only humans cared enough to risk their lives for people they had never met. Tucker thought about this as he returned to the orbital station. The next day, the Galactic Council would demand answers about humanity's intentions. But maybe the real question wasn't what humans wanted. Maybe it was what the galaxy was willing to become. The answer came sooner than expected. As Tucker reached his office, he found Sam Rodriguez waiting with an urgent message. Admiral, we're receiving distress calls from 17 different systems. The Korthak are launching a massive counterattack, trying to reconquer the worlds they lost after our victory. Tucker looked at the star map showing the affected systems. Billions of beings were in danger. The newly liberated worlds had minimal defenses, and the Galactic Council's bureaucracy would take months to organize any response. What are our available forces? Tucker asked. 12 human ships, plus about 30 vessels from our allied species. We're outnumbered at least 5-1 in each system. Tucker studied the map for a long moment. The smart military decision would be to defend only the most important systems and abandon the rest. But that wasn't the human way. Send word to all human ships and allied vessels. We're going to defend all 17 systems. Rodriguez looked concerned. Admiral, that means splitting our forces. We'll be vulnerable everywhere. Sam, 3 months ago, we defended this system against impossible odds because it was the right thing to do. Nothing has changed. We don't abandon people who need help. Within hours, the small combined fleet was dispersing across 17 star systems. Each group consisted of only a few ships, facing Korthak forces that outnumbered them dramatically. By all military logic, it was a disaster waiting to happen. But something unexpected occurred. As news of the human response spread, other species began to act. The Altarian Republic, which had been critical of human aggression, quietly sent a squadron of ships to help. The Centauri Federation contributed medical vessels. Even some Galactic Council members began dispatching support ships. Dr. Foster, who was aboard one of the relief missions, sent Tucker a message from the besieged Kelvin system. Jake, you need to see this. The local species here aren't just fighting. Alongside us, they're using human tactics. They've learned that they don't have to surrender just because the enemy is stronger. The battles that followed were unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. In system after system, outnumbered defenders used human-inspired tactics, guerrilla warfare, self-sacrifice for others, and an absolute refusal to surrender. The Korthak, who were used to easy victories through intimidation, found themselves facing enemies who fought with a ferocity they couldn't understand. But the most important change wasn't tactical, it was psychological. Species that had lived in fear for centuries were learning that they could fight back. The human example had shown them that being physically weaker didn't mean being helpless. Tucker received regular updates from the various battle zones. In the Rigel system, Captain Kelly Morrison's small task force had linked up with rebel fighters from 3 different species. In the Vega sector, Marine units led by Lieutenant Danny Murphy were training local populations in defensive tactics. Everywhere, the pattern was the same. Humans weren't just fighting the Korthak, they were teaching others how to fight for themselves. The turning point came 2 weeks into the campaign. The Korthak High Command, faced with unexpected resistance across multiple systems, made a critical error. They concentrated their forces for one massive attack on New Haven, thinking that destroying the symbol of human-alien cooperation would break the rebellion. What they found instead was a system defended not just by human and Zephyrian forces, but by ships from over 40 different species. The primitive humans had accomplished something the Galactic Council had failed to do in centuries. They had united diverse species in a common cause. The Second Battle of New Haven lasted only 6 hours. The combined fleet, fighting with human, tactical doctrine but armed with technologies from dozens of worlds, overwhelmed the Korthak Armada. For the first time in their history, a Korthak High Admiral formally surrendered, requesting mercy for his surviving forces. Tucker accepted the surrender aboard his flagship, with representatives from all the allied species present. The Korthak Admiral, a massive reptilian being named Thakmor, seemed genuinely confused by the terms offered to him. "You're not going to execute us?" Thakmor asked. "No," Tucker replied. "We're going to give you a choice. You can return to Korthak space and tell your leaders that the age of conquest is over. Or you can stay here and help us build something better." "I don't understand. We are your enemies. We have killed your people." Tucker looked at the alien commander calmly. "You were our enemies. That doesn't mean you have to stay our enemies. We believe people can change, can become better than they were." 3 days later, Tucker stood before the full Galactic Council for the first time. Representatives from over 200 species filled the massive chamber, all waiting to hear what humanity wanted from the galaxy. Ambassador Price introduced him simply. "Honored delegates, Admiral Jake Tucker of Earth." Tucker looked out at the assembled representatives, some friendly, others hostile, most simply curious. He had prepared a complex speech about human intentions and galactic cooperation. Instead, he found himself speaking from the heart. 3 months ago, we received a distress call from people we had never met. We helped them because that's what you do when someone needs help. Today, we're not here to make demands or claim territory. We're here to make a simple offer. He paused, looking around the chamber. "We'll help anyone who asks. We'll protect anyone who needs protection. We'll fight alongside anyone who stands up to bullies. And we'll never ask for anything in return except that you try to help others the same way." The chamber was silent for a long moment. Then the Zephyrian delegate stood up. "The Zephyrian Confederacy accepts this alliance." Within minutes, dozens of other delegates were standing, accepting humanity's offer. Not all of them. Some species still feared human aggression, others preferred the old system of power politics. But enough stood that the galaxy had clearly changed forever. As Tucker left the council chambers, he thought about how far they had all come. Humanity had answered a simple distress call and accidentally started a revolution. They had shown the galaxy that strength didn't have to mean cruelty, that power could be used to protect instead of dominate. The last scene took place 6 months later. Tucker stood on the bridge of humanity's newest ship, the Good Samaritan, as it prepared to launch on its first mission. The vessel had been designed specifically for rescue operations, equipped with medical facilities, refugee quarters, and defensive systems capable of protecting civilian evacuations. Captain Ben Miller, the ship's commanding officer, received their first assignment, a distress call from the far edge of the galaxy, from a species humanity had never encountered. "Course laid in, Admiral," Miller reported. "Unknown system, unknown species, unknown dangers," Tucker smiled. "Sounds familiar. Take us out, Captain." As the ship jumped to hyperspace, Tucker reflected on what they had accomplished. The galaxy was still far from perfect. There were still wars, still suffering, still injustice. But now there was also hope. Now there were people willing to answer when someone called for help. The small blue planet called Earth had given the galaxy something it had been missing for centuries. The belief that someone somewhere would always come when you needed them most, and that made all the difference in the universe.